Welcome to another Real Lives coaching session. I am really very excited tonight to introduce you guys to an incredible friend who has become a friend over the last few months after joining us in the January foundation courses. And came to us. Bruce Gilmore came to us as a participant in a pilot we were running down in San Antonio with folks from F45. So I'm so excited. Judy's here. She's saying hi from your class. She's watching. And I'm so excited to have you here to talk about your experience in the course and where you are now, and to coach you forward on your next steps. I think, first of all, thank you for being here tonight. But I'm wondering what you thought about this when you were approached. I mean, you'd really never heard of Target 100, and someone said, "Hey, I want you to join this pilot and do this thing." What did you think you were getting yourself into?
Well, I wasn't quite sure. It was pitched to me. It's a new type of program. It's behavioral weight loss. And when I heard that, it removed some of the skepticism around dieting and all of these other diets. And one thing that we learned in Target 100 is the diet mentality. So I was stuck with that. And then they said it's going to be behavioral management or behavioral weight loss. Having had some success with that through my actual employer a couple of years ago, I was excited to try something that hopefully would work a lot better for me than what has in the past. So whenever that was approached to me, they made a very, very compelling argument as to why I should do it, which made it almost impossible to say no. And I am so thankful I didn't say no. I have not been disappointed at all. If anything, I have been surprised at the results. And I am so thankful for my past self to say yes.
I was going to say, I mean, the fact that you said yes, that gives you a real idea of the kind of person you are, is that an opportunity presented itself and you said yes, right? A lot of people might have said no, I'm not sure what this is, but you said yes. So that tells us a lot about who you are right up front. Now, you had a lot of success in the course. You were already an F45 member. You had made quite a change in your life. Can you tell me just a little bit about the progress and the changes that you saw during your time in the foundation course with Target 100? What did it add?
It actually added a brand new life for me. For some people, they come into a program like Target 100 and they're already in a relatively healthy place overall. I was not. Mentally, I was not healthy. Emotionally, I was not healthy. Naturally, of course, I joined because physically I was not as healthy as I wanted to be. And over the duration of the course, I actually saw a complete transition and change in my mental health, my emotional health, and that made it so much easier to become even more physically healthy. I'm not where I want to be, but I am so far away from where I started that every little win that I have is a huge success. Past me never thought I could be where present me is. I could only imagine where future me is going to be.
Oh, I love that. I love it. Oh my God. I love that you're even saying there is a future me, and there's a future that's bright for me, and I'm going somewhere. So tell me a little bit about some of the pillars and how they affected your life, and how you've implemented them. And then we're going to go into a true coaching session. And the reason I'm asking you about your pillars and just where you are with each of them, because each of us is working in Target 100, myself included,
Mhm.
at all times, right? There is not an end date where I become someone who doesn't have to work at things, right? I am coming to
Right.
you guys live, by the way, from Ohio, where we are looking at Ohio State for my son. And we just went on a car trip. We took a 7-hour drive to get here today. And I was thinking about past me in the car, and what a car trip meant to me was nonstop eating. It meant like all things were out the window. It meant like just so many things that were so unhealthy. And today I was like, present me got up, made like this amazing yogurt parfait. I put it in a little lunch bag, like had the best drive, even worked while I was driving, drank water, ate my little yogurt parfait. I felt so energized. I feel so good to be here. So it's like that kind of thing. It's like I don't get to stop thinking about how to be future me, right?
Hmm.
I'm still working on future me. So talk to me just a little bit about your pillars, where each of them is, and then we'll work to see what we want to move forward.
Well, recently, whenever I took a little vacation away from work, I noticed that I was waking up right about the same time my alarm goes off at 3:45 in the morning. And part of that is because I had the opportunity to go and do my F45 class in the morning with other people that I don't usually get to see except for maybe on a Saturday or a Sunday, and to also celebrate a 100th class with one of them. So I saw myself waking up earlier and feeling better. So that is definitely something I've noticed. Whereas whenever work kicks in, it's like, do I have to? So my sleep inadvertently recently, I just noticed that that pillar actually became stronger. Sometimes removing a little bit of stress really does help with the sleep portion. So those two, as you said, it's a work in progress. It's never a stop. So those two, even just over the last few days, I've noticed they really do go hand in hand a lot more than what we even talk about in the course. Once you actually experience it firsthand, it's like, oh, wow. So I'm working definitely on those two because I really love that sleep. That was good.
It's right. And once you experience that power of that good night's sleep and how you feel the whole next
Yes.
day, right? How your mood and your energy is, how your workouts are, right? Your performance is much better in a workout after a great night's sleep.
Exponentially.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that I'm still working on those. I'm working on all of them, but those I'm really addicted to right now. But those are also the easiest for me to be able to control and manage. And then movement, well, I work in a call center and I'm in our IT department. So I'm up moving around. I may not get 10,000 steps in a day, but I get a lot more than zero.
It's great. That's
And I
great.
get a lot more than what I used to even a year ago.
Mhm.
So I always keep in mind, get up, go move. It also helps that whenever I sit for too long, my hips actually start to hurt. So if I don't get up and move, I'm going to be even more pain and uncomfortable just sitting down. So luckily my body is at that point. It tells me, okay, it's time to get up, go take a couple of steps, go over and do this, do some stretches, do something. So that movement part is wonderful. And then whenever I'm at home cooking, I don't, I like silence. I enjoy my peace and quiet. But if I'm active doing cooking or dishes, cleaning, gotta have music.
Okay.
Ever since I was a kid, that's just how our family did.
Yeah.
Have music. It makes it not as monotonous or tedious. So I play certain types of music that actually get me moving even more.
Nice.
So there's that portion of it. That's my movement. Of course, F45, that is my exercise. Uh, Once you get started on something that you enjoy doing, it doesn't feel like work. And I enjoy not only the community of F45, but also the workout routines. I'm really excited for next week when we have the Wahlberg week. I
Me
really
too.
want to see what that's going to be like.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
I'm
and
just
you
like,
had started, I mean, I think it's important for people who are listening. You had started your journey by just kind of going to F45. Like that was your first thing. And, you and I
mhm,
had a very powerful conversation where you said it was almost as if you had nothing left to lose, were the kind of the
right,
word you used with me.
yeah. So uh, at the end of 2021, I was doing like a lot of people whom are just trying to drown out the silence in their life. And I was spending a lot of time just droning through Instagram Reels and TikTok, and I found one of them that came across my feed by the creator Creating Wonders, and he's very positive. Always has a positive quote, even if it's not something you want to hear. It is something you probably need to hear. And the one that really stuck with me, this is literally my aha moment, was when you get tired of your own BS, that's when real change happens. I got tired, and it was a little seed. It was a few months later, and I got tired of getting the same thing out of everything that I was doing. So I needed to make that change, and I was tired of everything I was going through. So then Luckily, thankfully, my phone was listening to me because Instagram showed that F45 was opening up a new studio, which happens to be 2, 3 blocks around from where work is. And it's just a couple of miles away from the house. So I signed up in March of last year. We were supposed to open in June, but it got pushed back. So in August, that's where I started it. And when I signed up, it was a couple of other people doing F45 at the Alamo Ranch. And they said, you should do it, at least give it a try. So I signed up, I did it. The very first day was Hollywood. Our very first Saturday, it was the very first class that they had. I signed up for it. And my mentality was, I have to do something different. I'm going to start with it. If I can't do this, I won't know unless I try. So I tried. I did not finish it completely, but I showed up at 7 o'clock in the morning. I did everything that I could, and I came back. Luckily, there was another member that kind of brought me over to the side and said, starting out with cardio, not having done any before, probably not the best. Do these days, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, strength days. Then once you get a routine down with that, start adding in cardio. So I started doing that. And then we had the challenges come up, and I started doing those and adding in more and more. That Saturday actually scared me. I finished that course. I walked out. I felt like the biggest failure because I wasn't even able to complete 50% of it. But now I've already cleared 8 or 9 Saturdays just this year alone, and I've become addicted to them. Once you find something that actually makes you feel like you're not a failure, after feeling that way for so long, it's very difficult not to want to continue. That literally becomes an addiction to feeling worthy and successful.
That's amazing. Amazing. I wrote down so many things here, right? And I do want people to hear these messages of finding something that you enjoy, right? Whatever it is, whatever sparks your interest, going somewhere that makes you feel that you're not a failure, right? That
Mhm.
reframes, because our brain and much of what we teach in the course is that our brain is constantly trying to create the story that we are a failure because it does want to continue the patterns that it knows. They're
Right.
much more, they're more comfortable to your brain to stay stuck, to stay in the loops that are, even though you're tired. I love it when you become tired of your own BS, right? Like
Yeah.
you, but the brain really wants you to stay in it because it doesn't want the change. It doesn't want to, I mean, I can only imagine. I talk to people about this all the time about taking a big step like implementing exercise. Is one of our pillars is exercise, and that is a really difficult, intricate pillar to create, right? You've got to find out what you want to do. You got to have the right gear. You got to sign up for the class. You got to show up. You don't know what you're going to find when you get in the room, right? You don't know if you'll like it. There's so much risk involved in the exercise pillar for people. Then there's going in the class and not being able to complete it if you haven't been doing a lot of exercise, right? But what I love about you and what I hope people will take away from this is your spirit, the spirit of, okay, like I'm going to go back and try that again, right? We, a lot of times people
Right.
want one and done, right? One and done, I didn't like that. Let me just decide. Guys, we never just, if you never like something the first time, the second time it's usually worse. Maybe by the third time you can actually sort of start to see, do I like this or not like this? Is this right for me? But you can't go one and done with things like this. So it's so inspiring. So you had a lot of success there, and then you layered in Target 100. Where are you at this point? How much weight have you lost, if you remember?
Uh, since I've started making a shift in my weight from the maximum, or since I started Target 100 or
All
F45,
of
you
it.
tell me.
You need credit for all of
Okay.
it.
So my heaviest, the absolute heaviest that a scale weighed me at was 453 pounds. That was at the very beginning of 2021. It was so bad that I could no longer wear jeans. I couldn't wear a belt. I had to go and actually shop for chef pants that had the elastic waistband. And even those started getting to the point where the elastic was saying, I don't know if we're made out for this. And it was about that time that I got started on the behavioral weight loss, just a few months after. I was sedentary, still working in the call center. I was doing workforce management, which is the scheduling. So it was always just sitting. I got started on that. And in those 8 months of 2020, just by changing how I ate, I lost 30 pounds. All I did was change how. I didn't change what. Chick-fil-A was still breakfast of kings.
Examples. Give me a couple examples because I think they'll be helpful to people to hear. What does that mean? Did you eat off a smaller plate? Did you like what was the how that you changed?
Well, the biggest portion is instead of ordering the triple meat bacon cheeseburger with large onion rings and a large drink, I went down to a double meat. And instead of large, we stayed with medium. And I started doing that portion. And instead of at Chick-fil-A getting the number two, which is a fried chicken sandwich, and then adding extras to it's just, we're going to cut the extras out. We'll start with this and then move from the fried over to the grilled. I love spicy food, but there's no way that I'm not going to be able to eat the fried foods anymore. I physically cannot do it anymore. So it's usually grilled chicken or things like that. So it was those small changes that over time made it to where even my body said, no, that hurts us. It tasted good. It tasted great for the 5 seconds that we did it. It hurts for the 4 hours after. So even those small changes of how I changed eating was portion control. And instead of getting the large, I stayed with the medium, even though everything said large, large, large. We're in Texas, we go big.
Yeah.
No.
We're in Texas.
So it was making those minor changes that were easy to make. And instead of saying, no, I'm not going to have that, it was instead of I'm not going to have that, I'm not going to have as much of that.
Great. I love it. I mean, and you're getting so much support. I mean, this is so Target 100, right? To say like,
yes,
how is it helpful for me to say, hey, Bruce, go from fast food every day. No, you should be home eating like lettuce and grilled chicken, and you can't sustain it, right? What you've shown
no.
in the examples is exactly what I call this like gentle rotation, right? Which is do what you're doing and see if you could make a small change to that. It's enough. It's enough. Awesome. And every little step does matter. Yes, Maureen, exactly. Every step matters. Every single tiny win, every single tiny step we take, and to learn to recognize it and pat ourselves on the back and just celebrate everything that we're doing well. Learning to go with that voice in the brain versus the one that wants to always tell us that we're a failure, we're not doing it right. So thank you for sharing some of your hows, because I think that people believe that they have to jump this giant cavern. You can't. You're never going to
No.
there, right?
If you go to jump that cavern at first, you will fail.
Yeah.
There is no question about it. You will fail. You have to have a foundation first, and that foundation starts with what can I change? And then, like Liz says in all of the classes, let's do an experiment. What happens if I change this too? And then if it doesn't work, you still have that foundation. And then you can make other changes on top of it. And that is one of the greatest things about the Target 100 portion is that everything is individualized, it's compartmentalized, but it all makes the huge success when you add it together. It's just working on the parts that you can do right now.
Okay. Well,
So
keep going with your story. I cut you off.
at the beginning of 2021, when I weighed in, the beginning of 2022, we got 37 years worth of weight management going on, and I'm trying to remember where it's all starting and ending. So at the beginning of last year, I weighed in at 427 pounds. That was the highest that I weighed last year. And then I got started with my IT position. So I went from sitting down for 8 hours a day to I'm up walking around for 8 hours a day, almost overnight. So my body was definitely not liking that at all.
Oh, that's a good change. Yeah.
So sweating a lot. I was aching. Well, that made me drink more water. So there's the hydration portion of it. I was getting my body accustomed because now we're doing a lot of movement. We need a lot of liquids to go in there. From beginning of 2022 up until I weighed in August 18th of last year, I lost an additional 30 pounds just from walking.
Moving, yeah.
So it was the movement, no exercise unless you count me doing stairs. It was the movement and drinking more water.
Yeah.
Even to the point I know I've got to drink more water. I don't like the taste of water. I went and bought a huge bottle of lemon juice. So 2 or 3 shots of lemon juice, mix that into the water. It doesn't taste like water.
There you go.
And it tastes better. So that's where I started with my hydration portion. And then from the time that I started F45 until now, I've lost an additional 30 pounds. The last couple of months I've been on a plateau. So that tells me that, all right, now I need to work on my carbs pillar on that
Right.
one. So that's
tonight. We're gonna
yes.
in. So you are heading towards 100-pound weight loss.
Yes.
Incredible.
I am literally less than 10 pounds away from that 100-pound weight loss.
Oh, and are we going to celebrate you when that happens? And we're celebrating you now for every single pound right up until,
Yes.
today. Incredible, incredible. I do think also, though, probably, you've lost many, many inches and many, your body fat percentage, I'm sure, is down incredible amounts because of adding the exercise.
Yeah.
So we do see that. I'm always trying to educate people as I teach in the classes, right? It's like you picked up a lot of popcorn kernels and you let go of a lot of popped popcorn. The popped popcorn, that light, fluffy fat, right? You've let go of that and you've picked up these popcorn kernels that are tight and lean and strong. And so they seem to weigh more, but they don't weigh more, but they take up very much less space.
Right.
Yeah. So I bet you're wearing jeans now and belts are coming back into your life quickly.
So the belt that I actually had, and my entire life, I've always wanted to keep the same belt so that I can measure where my weight is as far as my waistline. And the belt that I last used before I could no longer wear it, I've already had to go in and add in like, I'm at 3 inches in from the lowest belt loop, but I've added another 3 inches because that's where my target is to be able to get to where that belt wraps halfway around me an extra time before I go buy a new belt.
I love it. Well, so I want to dig in then on this carb pillar for you tonight. That's where we're going to spend our coaching time for sure. And, just hoping that, anyone who's watching knows we are, really going to actually do a real coaching, right? Like this is what we do in the course. This is what our expertise is to take you, to that next best move. I call it, what's my next best move, right? And you've been doing this. It really interesting to me to hear your journey even a little more deeply tonight is like you started with the food pillar, right? And you kind of changed the how about what you were eating. Then your job changed. The movement pillar was added by your job, which added the hydration pillar, which then you layered in the exercise pillar. And now you're discovering the stress and sleep pillar. So you're making a really holistic picture here after, and you've really kind of designed this by yourself, which I think that's what we're here to do, is help you design your program and figure out what's right for you as this next best move. So talk to me a little bit about the carb pillar. First of all, I wanted to point out that as I was listening to you, you talked a lot about fast food in the beginning of your journey and how you were there. And then I overheard you talking about cooking. More recently, it sounds like you're actually cooking food as well. Has that been a big change for you?
Yes and no. I don't like to cook for myself, but I do like to cook for others. Whenever I was a little kid, I wanted to be a chef. That was my thing, is I like to cook for others. I don't like to cook for me. So sometimes now it really is kind of a 50-50. It really depends on how I'm feeling. If I'm just tired and I want something quick, I make a healthy choice. So I'm not getting deep fried. No, I'm not getting something that I'm actually more conscious about the calories. So if I look at it and it says it's 1,000 calories and it's just one thing, no, thank you. I don't burn off that many at F45 anymore. No, thank you.
No, thank you.
So I definitely make more health conscious decisions if I'm not cooking at home. But if I'm cooking at home, I still have this bad habit, as I had mentioned when we was talking about the carb portion in class, is that I don't know how to cook for one person. I've never been able to do it. I come from a family of 6 people, and between me and my dad, the two of us could easily eat for 2 people.
Sure.
So I'm more accustomed. I can feed a small army better than I can feed one person. So I always have leftovers. And that's not a bad thing because, sometimes if you stay boring, then you maintain a certain routine. And if you're trying to manage your weight, that's definitely a great thing if it's the right routine. So making leftovers is fine because I don't mind eating them. And if I make leftovers, it's essentially meal prep.
Yeah.
It's all cooked, it's all set to the side.
Yeah.
So you've got that option of meal prep, but it's going to taste the exact same. And I'm okay with that. So when I cook from home, that's usually how it is. And that will be dinner. If I'm hungry at work, then I'll go over to our cafe, and depending on what he's got for the main course, I may get a hamburger or I may get a quesadilla. I may get the main course. It really all depends, but I stay away from the chips.
Mhm.
I stay away from all the extra sugar. There's no more energy drinks. Sorry,
Okay,
my
great.
brain reset on that one.
Great. So energy drinks, you dropped those as well. Great.
I can't even tell you the last time I had one. I realized it only a few weeks ago that I haven't had one of those in a long time. So whenever it comes to my intake, I'm much more cautious and conscientious about what it is that I'm intaking, and I'm weighing that to my activity level. I don't like cardio, but if I got to go and do an extra day of cardio, I'm not going to choose to eat that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so then what do you want to see happen? Because you mentioned the carb pillar, or the food pillar, we can call it the food pillar, really. What do you want to see happen in that pillar for you? What's on your mind around it?
That is one thing I have always struggled understanding are the nutritional sides of it. So in the food pillar, we're talking about 100-ish, favorite phrase right there, ish,
Ish.
100-ish carbs a day. But growing up, carbs are bad for you. Carbs turn into fat whenever you don't burn them. So understanding how the carbs are turned into fuel and the differences between simple and complex carbs. On that one, I know simple carbs are more like white bread, flour, sugars, things that I already try and stay away from because I just don't like them. And then complex carbs are things that actually fuel the body. So instead of putting like leaves on a fire, you're actually putting logs on a fire.
Yes.
But understanding more of the portions of the complex carbs that would be beneficial. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could sit there and definitely kill an entire thing of mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Not supposed to do that, but
Oh, it's easy to do though, right?
it really is. So it's understanding where the complex carbs and how those actually add in to make a more well-balanced meal.
Okay, so your focus is really coming down, right? Like you focused on calories, you focused on carbs, you're learning. I mean, you honestly, you just did like a master class really nicely, very straightforward, right, guys? Simple carbs are those things like that contain a lot of sugar, cookies, and
Mm-hmm.
that there's no real fiber content to a simple carb, right? And what happens because of that is that it impacts your blood sugar level very quickly. Your blood sugar rise, and it's very disruptive for the body to have a lack of fiber alongside of the carbohydrates. It doesn't give the body any slowdown of those carbs hitting your bloodstream. So there's this spike in your blood sugar, and then there's a very quick drop, which makes you crave more. And the
Mm-hmm.
complex carbs are the things, like I love to say, like like a sweet potato is like an incredible complex carb that has tons of fiber, or a potato. So even eating a baked potato that is still has the skin on it, where all the fiber and the nutrients live, versus making a plate of mashed potatoes, which is still a better carb than certainly like a piece of white bread, but keeping that high fiber portion of that carbohydrate is going to be super important for you. So sounds like you already have a very clear understanding, and where you're headed next, and correct me if I'm wrong, is into sort of a deeper understanding of how to bring those into your meals, how to make them a part of your life, and how to leverage them a little bit. Does that sound clear?
Yes, and with your description of the potato specifically, because potato chips are potatoes, tater tots are potatoes, fries are potato, bread can
Exactly.
be potato. So that was what was really confusing me, is all of these other things can be made from potatoes, but they're all bad for you. And then it's the skin. Okay, so the fiber that's associated to it is what actually balances it out.
Exactly.
Aha moment.
Yes.
Thank you for that portion.
Yeah, wonderful. And that's why we're here, is to kind of put things in the simplest form, right? That's what we teach, is like, how can I make this easy for you? So it's not like that you have to go and count your macros, right? Like, I think
Right.
that's the last thing in the world that I want you to have to do. But I think very clearly around vegetables and fruits in their whole form, are always going to be your best bet. So like that, right? So the clarity of a baked potato versus then taking it apart and adding, a whole bunch of things that make it harder to stop eating it, because there's now butter and there's maybe sour cream, and there's salt, and there's pepper, and there's garlic, and it's delicious. My mouth is watering even talking about it. Or to fry it, right? Once we
Right.
fry something, there's a difficulty in stopping. But there's an energy density, is the word that we use when we're teaching about this. There's an energy density to the whole real food. So I think it would be a really interesting sort of experiment for you to think through, how do I add these things, and try not to manipulate them too much, or eat them in more whole form as an experiment, and to add them in to every meal. So we sort of have that challenge that we do in week 7, I think it is, of the class, where we ask you to add a fruit or a vegetable to every meal or snack. And I think that's somewhere where we could focus you, which is like, how do I get sort of a high complex carb fruit or vegetable in at every meal or snack, and really think about how that affects your satiety. I don't know about for you, but for me, I try to think of my plate, my circle plate. I want half of it to be full of vegetables, or fruit or vegetable.
Hmm.
Want a quarter of it to have, the protein. So there's either chicken, or there's an egg, or there's whatever it is, and then that last quarter is filled with some sort of more simple carb or and fat. So there's that. Just thinking of my plate as half vegetables, again, is one of those simple changes that goes how I'm eating,
Yeah.
changes everything. So I love your smile. What are you thinking?
At lunch today, the chef had great vegetables. Oh, they look delicious. Zucchini, squash, bell peppers. So as you're describing what the plate should look like, I'm thinking, okay, so that's a chicken breast, that's some rice, and that's those lovely vegetables. That sounds really good. Oh
Yeah, it's perfect, right? So you could
yeah.
have, and I'm thinking, like, I'm drawing it here. We even have it in some of our stuff. I'm just drawing it here so you can visualize it, right? Protein, and then there's sort of this carby, and then this fat. And fat is so important. So this is my little rudimentary drawing of this, right? So I've got half of my plate is filled with protein. Then there's a nice big quarter of it is, I'm sorry, half is vegetable, quarter of it's protein. Then that other quarter is like, there's some avocado, or there's some,
Hmm.
there's some healthy fat that I'm putting on there. And then maybe there is a small scoop of the rice, like, just like, but enough to just kind of fill in that little piece. I love this because what I've learned in 20 plus years of being not only the customer, right? I am the customer. I lost 65 pounds. I'm working every day to keep them off. I don't get to wake up and just phone it in, right? I want to think of things that once, and I will tell you, because I've done this now with my plate for so long, I can't not do it. It's like shaving a haircut. 2 bits. Like, I'm like, oh my
Right.
God, my plate doesn't look right. I don't have enough color on it. So it starts from thinking of it in a structure and seeing if you can't make that your routine.
And that's the experiment portion. What works for this meal? What works for the next meal? And how did those pair? Did they taste good? So there's all these other things that go along with that experiment of assembling one dinner plate.
Yeah.
And for anybody that has any level of curiosity, whenever you associate that to what you're already going to do, I mean, we're all going to eat. Yeah, we can go 30 days without food, but even at the end of that 30 days, you're still going to want to eat.
You're going to want to eat.
So why not make something that's tasty and delicious? And that's where that curiosity really helps with that experiment of what can I do to bring this up to, the next level. And looking at all of Fatima's posts about her food, I'm looking at it thinking, oh, that looks so good. And some of it, I bet that tastes spicy, or that looks like it tastes great, but not so spicy, but very savory. So all of these, just looking at the food, that really makes me salivate, like right
Yeah,
now.
same. I'm
And
salivating.
it also makes me want to know what it tastes like because of how it looks. I like spicy food, so I'm definitely going to follow a recipe for something. But then, if I want it to be a little bit spicier, add in jalapenos or maybe some habanero or a little bit of cayenne pepper, just something like that. And then it really gets you thinking, how can I make this better for me? And then bringing in all these other whole food portions that just makes it healthier. So not only is it better, but it's healthier.
Well, and I love that you mentioned Fatima's posts. Just for anyone who's watching, this is one of our members in Target 100, and she's been posting, gosh, I want to say for like 70 days straight, or more. I hope I'm saying the right number, but I know we're somewhere in that range of. She's been posting a picture of her first meal of the day, and whether that's sort of more a brunchy or a breakfasty or it's lunchy, and it's been so powerful to see somebody's food evolution in that she was now forced to look at what was on that plate, right? Whereas when sometimes when we're alone and we're making meals for ourselves and we sit down, we don't take the time to go, what is the composition of this plate and what am I putting on it? And we rush, oh, it's 80 days. Thank you, Kathy. um, we rush into just sort of being sort of lazy about it or being too
Mhm.
hungry. I mean, I know from my own experience, I was just, oh, I don't care. I don't care. And I always would say, like David, my husband David is like, he always puts together these beautiful plates. And I'm like starving. I'm like, can we eat already? Like, and he takes time and he drizzles the sauce on it, makes it look good. And now listening to you and hearing you say, like, I wanted to be a chef and I do have the ability to cook and I am kind of good at it, it sounds like you're a foodie. I think when we have dieted in the past, okay, so everyone I've ever met who has weight to lose, it's because they love food. We love food, right? And we gave up on that love of food and became scared of food because
Yeah.
it was either we were doing it all right or we were doing it all wrong. And when we were doing it all right, we were doing it blandly and we were following somebody else's plan and we were just doing what someone told us. But I want to empower the chef in you, Bruce. I want to see you go into your love of food because what I know from talking to Fatima is that this has been a very powerful experience, and I actually think she's on right now watching.
I think she is.
Yeah, I think it's a powerful experience too. She's become more creative with what she makes. She's fallen in love again with with the actual making of food and found it very stress relieving and joyful. And since you're already talented at that, I think the one thing you may run into is learning how to make something, if you're making it just for one, falling in love with that, making it for you, like that you're worth making something wonderful for, and then learning how to then put that stuff away, make your plate, because that was one of my biggest problems was I would eat like a full meal standing up while I made my, and then I would sit down, eat my plate, then I would stand up to put it all away, and I would actually eat another half a meal while I put it away. So when we
Yeah.
make great food, it's about the skills around the great food. But I do hope to sort of in part of this experiment for you is let that inner chef kind of come back out, and enjoy this process and start to trust yourself around food. I think is one of my hopes for you. How does that make you feel?
Well, you actually touched on a very important part that up until I started with Target 100 and probably 3 or 4 weeks into it actually is that one of the biggest things that I did not like cooking for myself is because ultimately it came down to I didn't respect myself. I didn't love myself enough to do that. And after with Target 100 so far, like I mentioned earlier, it has literally changed my entire outlook. Mentally, I am 10 times better than where I was 6 months ago. So looking at it to actually make these foods for myself and to go down that path, it's kind of eye-opening and exciting because that's not something that I've actually done yet. Yes, I've cooked for myself, but I haven't actually prepared the food for me like I would say for friends and family that I want it to actually have them enjoy it. So that's kind of another aha eye-opening moment. And it's definitely one that I'm thinking very seriously about what dinner is going to be like tomorrow night to begin with.
I hope you'll post a picture.
I will do my very best, I
Yeah,
promise.
no pressure, but like love to be a part of this journey because even just your smile says it all right now. Like you're actually like thinking differently about, right? That's part of, you always quote the top of the box that we sent, the respect yourself, love
Yes.
yourself. And isn't it funny when we recognize like I don't I will cook for someone else with all of this reverence and joy and love and passion to give something to them. And I never even thought about giving it to me, but I
Right.
deserve it. It gives me chills to think about that shift in perspective of like, and I'm going to be a happier person, right? Like I'm going to treat myself the way I would treat other people versus, not turning that love back and that joy and that acceptance and that respect back to me. So it's a deeper, we're talking about these things that might sound like, oh, we're talking about cooking and we're talking about
Right.
carbs and we're talking, no, we're talking, and that's it, is it's such a deeper conversation that we're having.
It really is. And you can only truly experience it whenever you've experienced that shift from waking up and going, well, damn, I'm here again, to waking up and saying, oh, hello.
Now,
It really is completely different. And the perspective that comes with that, it's down to the core of the individual. For me, a year ago, I got the news that Bruce, you need to go see your doctor. Your blood pressure is too high. You could die at any moment, thinking, oh, well, there's that. Yay. To now, I'm at the point of I can't believe that I hated myself that much, that was the highlight, is to hearing that I could die at any point in time. To where now I'm waking up saying, how can I make this day better for me? And how can I enjoy what I have now? I have part of what you've taught us is the gratitude portion. Even though my gratitude may have been genuine before, it wasn't always genuine, and it wasn't to the same level of genuine that I have now. So everything that I say that I'm grateful for, I absolutely mean that 1,000 times more than what I would have before. So it really goes down to the core of the person themselves. Some people may not be at that point. Some people are probably in that journey still, and others, they've probably been on the other side of it and the success portion of it for many years. Much like this program, you've been going through this, you're the creator of it, and you've been doing all of this. So it's definitely progress. Every day is an opportunity that we have to make progress. And if we don't make 2 steps forward, did we go 5 steps back? Sometimes you just have to be grateful at not regressing so far. And even if we do, tomorrow's another day that we have the opportunity to try again.
Yeah. Well, and I think we might have actually uncovered that you should probably start a new career as a motivational speaker. Because you're so motivating and so connected to this. You really are. I can see that everyone's reacting to everything that you're saying, because it's coming straight from your heart, and it's really very powerful to see this shift in you. I think one of the things we always try to teach as well is the tactical implementation, right, of whatever it is that we're working on. So I want to make sure that we give you that structure, right? So everything we do
Mhm.
at Target100 is, this is great. Okay, we've talked about these complex carbs and how we want to add them in and how we want to make these things. When you think about how you can take action on what we're talking about, the progress you want to make in the food pillar, this sort of loving, maybe this is it. I want to look up and test one new recipe next week, or maybe I want to, what is it that's coming onto your mind that we can give you something to hold on to? Because that was always my problem in the past, and why I created Target100 was I'd have grand plans, right? And we even have
Mhm.
works where we talk about grand plans. I'm going to learn to speak Italian, and then we never do it, right? Because that's just how life goes. What we
Right.
try to surround you with here is structure, accountability, and support. So what are you thinking of? Like, how can we take action on this in a way that's measurable for you?
That is the $1,000,000 question right now. Ultimately, this comes down to me making the decision to actually go to the store, be it that I place my order online and pick it up on the way home or after my F45 class, or go in there and get my movement by walking up and down the rows and the aisles. So I'd have to go there and be able to get all of the ingredients. And I do this, I don't stock up, because if I stock up, I forget about it. So I buy what I need for that meal or the leftovers that are going to be along with it. So it comes down to me actually just deciding what fruits, vegetables, and protein I'm craving. And right now, spaghetti sounds really good, but I don't need the pasta.
Right?
So it's coming up with a menu of something that I would want to eat for at least 3 or 4 meals, and then going to the store, no matter how tired I am, or no matter how much I don't want to be around people for the moment, and getting all of the ingredients, and then coming home and taking the time to actually take pride in making it and getting that portion done. Sometimes I'm thinking about all these steps that go into making that one meal, and yes, it's only 5 steps, but each step is like a giant leap.
Yeah. Yeah.
So sometimes I really do have to break it down.
Yes.
For the March portion of the challenge, find that one area in your house to clean up. I'm not going to lie, it took me the entire month to clean off my dining room table and get that area cleaned. It doesn't look like it now because the computer's set up there, but it doesn't look like what it did. And
Yeah.
so for me, it's getting that reminder
Yeah.
to
I
do
think
this and do this.
you should make it smaller, though.
Yeah.
That's another magical piece of Target100 for you, is let's make it smaller. I keep thinking the thing that keeps going across my mind as an idea for you is, like, oftentimes I work with people, a lot of times, as you saw in the class, a lot of women. and
Hmm.
they are tasked with making dinner for their families,
Yeah.
and they're so overwhelmed by that. And we go and we say, you know what? Let's just go and say, I'm going to take Tuesday night. Tuesday night every week, and you don't have to pick Tuesday, but Tuesday it's going to be Taco Tuesday, right? We're just going to pick Tuesday night of the week, at least to start as your night. Like, let's pick one night that feels realistic for you to say, this is I'm gonna actually cook on that night. And what it reminds me of, I think, where we are, this leap that we're making, and all of those steps that you exemplified, is it's sort of like working out. There's going to be brain noise. I don't want to go to the store. I don't want to put my shoes on. I don't want to
Hmm.
see people. I don't want to buy this. I don't know. I think if we picked one night and you said, I'm going to pick one thing, you could, and you could make it a theme. It could be a Taco Tuesday, and you're just going to make tacos every Tuesday, ground beef one week, chicken the next week, and picking up something. Does that help you to make it like, let me just not make it that every meal now has to have complex carbs, and like,
Right.
take that baby step.
That it definitely makes it a lot easier. And as you're describing that, this is the second time I've heard you describe that portion. And right now my brain is going, oh yeah, yeah. Whew. That makes it so much easier. So there's one day that we don't have to worry about. And because you don't know how to cook for one, it's really like 2 days we don't have to worry about. It definitely breaks it down. And mentioning Taco Tuesday, that I don't know of an easier meal. Literally, you're just browning the meat and then putting seasoning on it and dressing it up with a little bit of healthy fats and some vegetables.
Yeah. So that's my goal for you, is let's not overwhelm you. You do not have, right. You didn't get to where you are by jumping into massive
Right.
goals. A small shift. So I love it. I love this idea. So I'm here to support you. The group is, here to support you all the way. Ask for help. I will say, in our, I don't know if you noticed, in our recipes tab on the course wall, there's a recipes tab, and those are 10 of my favorite recipes in the world that could not be easier. Like, one is a chicken fajita sheet pan recipe that, you'll make it, it'll be enough for you for a couple of days, but like, there's so many resources for you. So let us know how we can help.
After this, I will definitely go and look at those recipes.
Yeah.
I still have this out of sight, out of mind. So I see it every time I log in, but I'm going to look at something else and then I forget to come back to it. So I'm going to do that after this call
All right.
and go and look at those recipes and start making a shopping list.
I love it. So we have a little action plan, right? And I want you to think about this. This is your new experiment, right? Your task is your task. So we like to differentiate between the experiment and the tasks themselves. Task is just go in and take a look at those. Like, there's a meatball recipe that is to
Mhm.
die for. There's a chicken fajita recipe to die for. Just find one that looks interesting and pick one day next week where you're gonna make food for yourself like you would make for a friend, and let it be your meal for a couple of nights, and not have to think about it, and see where that goes. Just like you started on Saturday at F45, and it built and it built and it built. We just want one meal, just one. Sound doable?
If that's not doable, then I have other things I have to recognize about myself.
Well, I love this, Bruce. I do want to remind anybody who's watching, we do have classes starting up, and we will post the link in the chat here. They're starting next week, next Monday night. We have a whole bunch of new folks coming through into the foundation courses Monday and Tuesday night. We're going to put that link up for anyone who wants to join. Also, for our friends who are watching down in San Antonio, we have our big challenge starting next week, where you will join a course and you will actually compete against one another down there in the 7 locations of F45. We will be tracking your water intake and your steps and your exercises having you all compete against one another. So, oh, thank you, Anne. Just put the Target 100 courses up. But for those folks down in San Antonio who want to be a part of the citywide challenge that we're calling Team Spirit Matchup, make sure that you see your coaches or there are flyers in your locations. There's a QR code for you to scan. You will get your box. You will be a part of a course, and then you will be also in a competition with us. So please, please join us. We only do this a couple of times a year. So courses start next week. And Anne has put this up. Couldn't have had a better representative here tonight to talk about how powerful these courses could be. Bruce, thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing your journey with us.
Thank you for having me. I was very excited to see the request, and even more excited whenever the time finally got here. I was looking at my calendar. Oh no, I hope I didn't miss it. I hope I didn't miss it.
Well, thank
So,
you. Thank you. Everyone is
thank you.
celebrating you in the chat. I hope you got to read some of those comments because you really inspired us all tonight. So thank you.
I look forward to the next class. Thanks for having me, Liz.
Have a great night, everybody.
Y'all as well. Bye-bye.